This episode of the Cult Popture podcast was brought to you by $1 Genre. That's right, everybody. I'm back here to plug my other project, $1 Genre, which is a YouTube channel slash Patreon, where if you donate $1 a month, you get to tell me what the genre, $1 genre, of my next short film will be. I've been making one short film a month this year, each based on a genre decided by the patrons, and it's been super fun. We just released a POV slasher called You're the Killer, so you can check that out. There'll be a link in the show notes of this episode, and if you want to get involved, go over to patreon.com/$1 genre and donate, or just check the videos out, check the films out on the YouTube channel $1 Genre, making a kaiju film this month. I don't know how I'm going to do that, but anyway, on with the episode. Do you want to try and replicate the conversation?
Well, AJ, I just want to go back to something that you were saying just before we started recording. You said to me that you wanted to put something on the record, but we weren't recording at the time.
Yeah, weird. Didn't even occur to me.
What did you say?
I don't think I can get COVID. So I'm happily setting myself up for a fall now because I don't have to do anything for the next couple of weeks. If this was 2 days ago, I wouldn't dare touch this.
Right.
The fates of Murphy's Law. But right now, I don't have to leave the house until I have to shoot my next short film. And so my flatmate,
which is going to be a kaiju film.
Correct. You've literally heard it here first. My flatmate has announced that they have COVID, despite still testing negative, and they've even tweeted about it. And me and my other flatmate were talking about how we felt this is actually quite a sacred thing to be like, I finally have COVID, and you can't just say you do. It's a rite of passage. You've had COVID. I haven't had COVID, but let me tell you what I have had, Richard. I have had close encounters with dozens of people who either have either had COVID when I've encountered them, or let me know the next day that they had COVID and have COVID now and probably did.
What do you consider a close encounter?
Okay, so speaking of my short films, if you go back and watch 6 Winters Since She Died, there is a scene where I press my face against one of the actors, Brendan, for a comedic beat. That night, he was like, hey, I have COVID. There is photo evidence of me touching faces with someone with COVID, and I did not get COVID. No. My other flatmate has had COVID. 2 of my flatmates have had COVID. 3 if you include the one who's claiming they have COVID now. And I don't think I can get it.
Are you worried, though, that it's because you're so unappealing that the germs don't even want to go near you?
I'm worried about
because you shouldn't be worried about that. You shouldn't be worried about it.
Oh, okay. Welcome along, everybody, to film franchise Fortnights. This is our fun little show where we tempt fate with our futures. I wonder how many times like this you could go back and listen where like we've boldly said, this will never happen, and then it's happened. But this isn't a show where we do that. This is actually a show where we discuss film franchises, and you're tuning into the tail end of our Alien/Predator/Alienverse Predator, because they do feel like 3 separated and distinct franchises.
They each have their own Wikipedia page. Like Alien vs Predator franchise has its own Wikipedia page.
Wow. Yeah, this is the tail end of our saga where we've watched Aliens, the Alien movies. We went all the way to Alien Covenant. Then we watched Predator, went all the way to Prey. And here we are looking at the 2 Alien vs Predator movies that exist, which I believe are now decanonized from the Alien franchise due to Prometheus stating that the xenomorphs weren't actually invented yet. But it is not decanonized from Predator, which did feature allusions to Alien vs Predator in the film The Predator 2018. Yeah.
Correct.
So, welcome. I'm AJ. That's Richard.
Oh, yeah, this is Richard. The COVID one's Richard. The Coke one is AJ.
I just took a swig of Coke. That was my last sip, though.
Did you swirl it around in your mouth before swallowing it?
No, I don't do that. That was malicious rumor set up by a friend turned enemy. I was bullied in high school for that.
So the two films we're talking about are Alien versus Predator, which came out in 2004, directed by Paul W.S. Anderson, the bad one.
Bad one, thank you.
Alien versus Predator Requiem, which came out in 2007, directed by the brothers Strauss.
Something I didn't know until the credits rolled. I guess the name of the directors of Requiem had just passed me by until I was staring blankly at my TV as the credits rolled. That film.
Yeah, so it's funny, this is like a big undertaking we've sort of done covering these films, and what a like wet fart to end on.
Totally, right? Because Alien, the Alien series, every one of those films, I had a pretty good time with. Even the bad, quote unquote bad ones, I had a fun time with. Predator has a lot lower lows, but at least it ends on probably the best film in the franchise with Prey. These movies. These movies seem to like not be as smart as the series, the franchises they're aping, but also not as dumb in a fun way. Maybe the first AVP, but I'm getting ahead of myself.
It is funny. Like if you're looking to undertake this, I would probably suggest watching them in release order. Like what we normally would do. We normally do films in release order, but we've covered 5 films which came out after these two, and have now gone back and done these just because it was too messy. And boy, does it feel like it.
Watching a Paul W.S. Anderson movie after Prey, yeah, of course it feels like I've gone back 15 years.
So, yeah, but yeah, like, otherwise you get to finish on Alien Covenant, which I quite liked, and Prey, but no, instead we finish on Aliens versus Predator Requiem.
I think maybe what I would have suggested looking back is doing Alien vs. Predator in between the two franchises. Maybe that's a better way.
Oh, so do Alien vs. Predator, then Predator.
Yeah, maybe, although do we need the knowledge we have of Predator to truly assess the crossover?
I don't think we need anything.
I don't think you need a brain.
I don't think you need any knowledge at all. So, first off, what is Alien vs. Predator about, AJ?
Is it Alien vs. Predator or AVP : Alien vs. Predator?
It says it's stylized as AVP : Alien vs. Predator.
Letterboxd lists it as that.
Well, Letterboxd has a lot of style.
That's true. This is set in 2004, maybe one of the only ones. I think the only one
in 2004.
Since Predator 1987 that's actually contemporary. Because like even Predator 2 set 7 years in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is set in 2004. It's about an expedition led by Lance Henriksen playing Bishop. No, he's playing the Weyland.
Charles Bishop Weyland.
So this, I guess that Peter Weyland, who is Guy Pearce in the Prometheus and Covenant, like, is that a character? Was the first name Peter invented for Prometheus? Because this feels like it's the first attempt at, like, this is the mysterious Weyland.
But there's evidence that the name Peter existed before Prometheus came out. Peter Griffin from Family Guy.
No.
Much earlier. What I mean, like, the thing is that you just have to remember that, like, these are completely decanonized by the Alien films. So, yeah, it makes sense for Prometheus to include the CEO of Weyland Industries, and why in any world would Ridley Scott feel obliged to give him the same name from AVP?
Well, that being said, he did honor the ABCD naming system of the previous androids, which is him acknowledging that Alien Resurrection exists, which is above the same pedigree as AVP.
Well, we'll get to what Ridley Scott thinks of the film once you've finished. Once you've finished your synopsis.
Okay, so yeah, so this Weyland, played by Lance Henriksen, who of course played Bishop in Alien, he has organised an exhibition to a pyramid under Antarctica that they've found. And they go to this pyramid, and it turns out that it was built by predators, the alien predator, for the alien predators. So the predators have built this pyramid, and the idea was that they used it as a hunting ground, as kind of like a rite of passage, I think, for young predators, where they'd get xenomorphs, chuck them down there, and to defeat the xenomorph to earn your stripes. And the humans who millions of years ago, or probably just thousands of years ago actually, worshipped predators as gods, they were used as incubators for the aliens in the way that we know. The most of the film is set in the pyramid, where the aliens are awakened and the predators return for whatever reason. And you know, the slogan for this film, the tagline, is one I'll always remember. I don't know if I necessarily think it's good, but it is memorable, which is, whoever wins, we lose. And I always thought that was such an interesting tagline for a versus movie, which clearly picks a side, which clearly designates a protagonist in the Predator who joins forces with the last remaining human, who's a sort of the icy plains guide. She's the only one that survives. And they join forces to defeat the alien queen that's nested below the ice. And it ends with the predators leaving this woman just alone in Antarctica. And one of the predators, the main predator, has died in battle, and the other predators place him on a little like ceremonial bed and leave the room. And then boom, a hybrid alien predator bursts from his chest. Did you make that up? Or
no, that's the proper nomenclature.
Yeah. Cool.
So it's interesting that you point out clearly picks a side, because the film was actually criticized for clearly favoring the xenomorphs over the predators, because Paul W.S. Anderson was a bigger fan of the alien films, in Requiem, the opposite was criticized because the brothers Strauss openly preferred the Predator franchise.
Well, I disagree with both statements. I think both films place the predators firmly in the good guy camp. What the different? It always feels like the predator.
I guess it's more about power level and stuff.
Yeah, if they say like it prefers alien, I think what that means is like they're the bigger threat.
Yeah.
Than the predator, but the good guys, quote unquote, are the predators, or eventually they are. And I think it comes down to an interesting distinction between the two franchise characters is like the aliens are more animalistic. They're more like wild animals, whereas the predators are hunters. They're intelligent. I'd hazard to say like the predators are more intellectual, while the aliens are more ravenous.
Yeah, so the predators are more like us, and the aliens are more like your average kind of rugby player jock who gets all the girls.
Right. Okay. I'm not sure I follow what you're doing, but I support it nonetheless.
Well, I think the predators are like the incels, and the aliens are the chads.
Oh, okay. So it's the virgin and the virgin predator.
The virgin predator versus the Chad
alien.
Yeah.
Nice. I get you.
So the concept of Alien vs Predator started in comics. They started as comics in 1989. They've been running up until the present. The Dark Horse Comics published them until 2020. Now Marvel Comics. So in terms of that coming to the idea of film, it was... So this was why... Hearing that this was going to happen, we've talked about this already a little bit, but hearing that this was going to happen was why Ellen Ripley Sigourney Weaver asked to be killed off in Alien 3, because she didn't want no part of it.
Right.
But yeah, just James Cameron and Ridley Scott sort of were asked about it and talked about it. James Cameron believed the film would kill the validity of the franchise and ceased working on his story. Yep. And he said, to me, that was Frankenstein meets werewolf. It was Universal just taking their assets and starting to play them off against each other, milking it. Although after watching Alien vs. Predator, Cameron remarked that it was actually pretty good. I think of the 5 Alien films, I'd rate it third. I actually liked it. I actually liked it a lot.
James Cameron seems like a film bro who can still make...
Yeah.
Well, not even a film bro, like the hybrid of like a meathead and a film
Oh,
bro.
yeah, like the Chad Cameron versus the Virgin Scott.
Yeah.
So Ridley Scott was asked in... I don't have the date of it, but like in the sort of mid-2000s, I think, was asked how he felt about Alien vs. Predator, and he was like, I'll choose to preserve my pretty good relationship with 20th Century Fox. And didn't say. But then in 2012, when asked if he watched them, he laughed and said, no, I couldn't do that. I couldn't quite take that step.
Well, I understand. Because what are we talking Rotten Tomatoes wise?
What would you guess?
Probably like the first one's maybe like 30%, and the second one's maybe like 13% is what I'm guessing.
You're quite close. The first one's 22%. The second one is 12%.
Right, so we're talking about like the worst rated films in both franchises.
Yeah.
Which is not the closest we've done to this before would be Freddy vs. Jason. With Nightmare on Elm Street in front of the 13th.
Was it Alien Resurrection? One of them had 17%, didn't it?
Maybe. Was it? No, the Predator is 17%.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so it is interesting to, like, because Freddy vs. Jason, from memory, was quite...
33%. Maybe I'm just stupid, a big stupid fuckhead.
Freddy vs. Jason, from memory, was quite well respected, at least within the context.
It's playing a different game though. Like you're just having to please, cheesy, schlocky horror heads, whereas Chads. Whereas this one, you're trying to please the virgin incels who like Predator. It's just such the most meatheady film of all time.
I think Alien is like regarded as a pretty intelligent movie, and so it's a lot harder to swallow, I guess, when it's like, the goofy characters from Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th are fighting, and now it's like, this villain from this like seminal horror and this the villain from like this slightly goofier action Arnold Schwarzenegger movie are fighting. It does feel like it's muddying the waters by association. But what I wanted to sort of explore here is, how much do you know about these comics, these Alien vs. Predator comics?
Very little.
Because I get the impression that there are at least a few that are quite well regarded.
I think that's probably a fair statement, yes.
And I wonder, I mean, if it's a comic series that's still going, you would hope so. The movies certainly aren't still going. And so that just leads me to wonder, like, how on earth are the movies that bad? And is it a case of, like, they just refused to adapt, like, the best comic?
Yeah, there's nothing in these films adapts the settings or the stories of the comic series.
Because I feel like that would be the obvious move, and yet they've resisted. And what you get is like an abandoned plot line, basically.
One of them's called Alien vs. Predator Booty.
Yes, I did know that. Oh, that's a pirate one.
Are you going to reference something we recorded for the...
We just did the Master and Commander episode for our Patreon, which we had a riveting debate over whether or not it's a pirate movie. By the way, Richard... do you ever just think about, and this has just occurred to me now, do you ever think about how much better a guest Carlisle was than every other guest we've ever had on the show? Like, seriously, everyone else looks like some bumbling dipshit ever since we had Carlisle on. No one has anything approaching...
Toaster you're referring to.
Yes, and your other podcast for everyone. No one has anything approaching wit on his level. And this has just occurred to me. I know you were saying something, but like... even you and me. Carlisle makes you and me look like stupid dipshits who know nothing about film. Nothing at all. What are we doing, man? We're fucking frauds. Why are we still doing this? I've hated every episode we've made since Carlisle came on. There you go, Carlisle. Carlisle did me a favor recently, and that was his terms of payment was to interrupt you and say that. But I will spin this into a plug. Is that the reason I had to do that was because Carlisle provided the musical score for my latest short film
That's so funny.
called "You're the Killer." Which you should all watch. There's a link to it in the description, in the show notes.
The funny thing as well is I'm in the group chat where he asked you to do that, and I didn't read it. I was just like, I just scrolled past. I was like, yeah, okay, he sent me through the audio. This doesn't concern me, and I didn't pay attention.
So there you go. Check out "You're the Killer" on the $1 Genre YouTube channel. Carlisle did a fucking great. Here's what happened, everybody. This will probably be recorded in other places, like another podcast or something. But I messaged Carlisle. I sent him a voice message. It was like, "Hey, here's a tune that's in my head," and I just went, and then he made a score out of my dumb little voice note because Carlisle is incredible.
Oh, he's the best guest we've ever had.
He's the best guest we've ever had.
And he makes all the other guests look like dipshits.
And I'm a fucking fraud. Yeah, Alien vs Predator.
Yeah, so I want to bring up, so my one sort of memory of this film, and this is the only thing I've ever really known about this film. I think, when you used to buy a DVD back in the days of physical media, gross, it would have unskippable trailers at the start.
Yeah.
They weren't always unskippable, but they would play these little trailers. I think it was in that context, but I remember seeing the trailer for Alien vs Predator, and I was watching with my dad, and there was this the film starts off with oh, they've found this pyramid underneath the Antarctic Circle, frozen underneath, and my dad being like, oh, and then it's oh, we've discovered the aliens versus Predator down there, and he was like, oh. So he was interested, he thought it was a true story, or at least some kind of intriguing, science fiction or almost Indiana Jones kind of adventuring tale, and then when he found out it was Alien vs Predator, he just, oh.
Yeah, I think I might have seen this in some form before, because the main thing I remember was that little flashback scene where the predators are ruling and this Aztec pyramid. And what's so funny is in the movie, that is that's the kind of scene that a character finds a magical glowing orb and they touch it and they get a vision of it happens in Sliver is what I'm thinking of. She grabs the slug when it's trying to get in her mouth, and she sees it's past, it comes from another planet.
Okay, sure.
But all of this exposition is told to you by a guy reading hieroglyphs. So silly. I was surprised in this first movie how quickly there was only one survivor left. Because they set up a whole bunch of, expendable, disposable characters. They go down, they piss people off. And true to Alien vs Predator, I said the same thing about Alien 3. The order in which the characters are killed off, barring the clear main character, is shocking to me. Because you've got So there's three examples I'll list here. One is, Lance Henriksen plays Wayland, and he's obviously very sick. He's coughing, which if you're coughing in a movie, you are going to die. And the main character, tries to convince him not to come down to the pyramid, and she says, my dad and I, we once climbed this mountain, and I had my first drink. I had my first champagne with my dad on the top of this mountain at 20,000 feet. And then when we came down the mountain, he died 20 minutes from base. And Wayland's like, what do you think your dad remembers? The pain or the
champagne?
The champers with his daughter. Which I thought was so funny to be she's trying to convince him not to go. And she's like, we had this life-changing cathartic experience that would make anything else worth the pain. She doesn't say, my dad died climbing a mountain. She gives him ammo for why to come down. But this is all to say, it builds quite a I guess a reverence to the character of Wayland, who is killed off at the predator kills him, because it doesn't want to kill him because he has cancer, and so he tries to shoot it and it kills him. And this is probably the halfway mark of the movie. So again, like a pretty important character disposed of like he's nothing. There was another case where these characters are left in what they call the sacrificial chamber, which is where the ancient humans would lie and the eggs would come up and the facehuggers would jump out. And one of these characters, so there's maybe 5 characters down there. 3 of the 5, you haven't even seen these people's faces. They're just bodies to fill out.
Faceless.
So obviously they're going to die. But then the other 2 characters is this like sniveling, bespectacled white dude, and then one of them is this like kind of alternative girl.
So the Virgin of the Church.
Yeah, but and you know she almost looks androgynous. She's like, you know, got quite a specific look. And when the other party like trigger something that make the eggs start rising to the sacrificial chamber, I went, right, so the bespectacled guy, he's gonna fucking die, and this really unique-looking female character will survive the film. She is the first character to die in the movie. she gets face-hugged immediately. Oh, no, sorry, the Predators kill a bunch of other no-names before this, but it was so weird that, I don't know, I'm just used to seeing, like, unique characters survive against generic-looking characters, but this is a Paul W.S. Anderson film, so he probably felt the opposite. He probably saw himself and the other guy. And the other one was the pyramid starts splitting up and they're all in different caverns, and these 2 characters are left alone together, and one of them's like freaking out and the other one's he's like, you can't give up. Do you have kids? And he's like, yeah, I got a son. He's like, then we don't have the luxury of giving up. and it's like, cool. So we've got these 2 characters with drive and motivation. We care about them now because we learn they both have something to live for. They're not immediately killed, but they're immediately like split up. The Scottish guy is basically killed. You see him one scene later where he's slathered up on the wall by the alien for the facehuggers. But it's so weird. Like, you can kill these characters off, but give me like a film in between, explaining that they have children to get home to and their tragic deaths, but it's like immediate that they're dealt with.
Well, I just think, that's the W.S. Anderson style, baby. Paul Thomas Anderson will make you a 3-hour epic about, like the lives of different characters across LA. Paul W.S. Anderson gives you a tight 100-minute Alien vs. Predator film where you find out things about people right before they die.
Right before they die. It's classic W.S. Anderson. It's classic Anderson. W.S., that is.
What do you think the W.S. stands for?
Wow. Sucks.
That's right.
Wow. What does it say?
Paul William Scott Anderson.
Williams, Sean William Scott.
Yeah.
Of the Sean William Scott clan? of the Stifler clan? Is Paul W.S. Anderson a Stifler? I will say this for Paul W.S. Anderson. There were 2 moments that got me for very different reasons. One was when there's only 2 characters left, so there's the woman who survives the film and this other dude.
The Predator.
No, the Predator's not there yet. And they're running away from an alien or a predator. I can't remember which. And the girl like slips through this like closing, like the roof is closing in on them. And the other guy starts crawling through, and genuinely, and I'm ashamed to say how like lost I got into this film. I was like, he's not gonna make it. Like I sincerely shouted that as he was crawling through. I was like, he's gonna get crushed. And then he made it out. I was like, oh wow. And the other moment that got me for a very different reason is when it's just the girl and the predator left. They're like running around, and God, it disarms how scary a predator is supposed to look when there's this big hulking silhouette next to this girl, and they like jump on this like escalator thing that goes up the diagonal ice cavern, and then you're both just holding on like fucking characters in a video game. It looked so funny. I couldn't get over it. And then of course we'd be remiss not to mention the fact that they kill an alien, a xenomorph, and then use its head as a shield and its spear, its tail as a spear. And you get to this point and you're like, Ridley Scott, I mean, he's not turning in his grave because he's not dead, but like, this is disparaging.
He's turning in his bed, at least. I wasn't going to bring that up because, unlike last week, I actually read the Cult Elder things in advance, and someone mentioned that, and I was going to let them have their little moment.
Let's save it for then. There. Yeah.
But do you think this film would have been improved by a little cameo from Arnold Schwarzenegger?
No, I don't think it would have been improved. Maybe it would have been like a little bit cooler.
Because he did offer to do one.
No kidding.
Yeah, he offered to do a short cameo appearance if he lost the recall election, on the condition that filming would take place at his house, and however he won the election.
That's so
Governor
funny.
of California.
Do you reckon he won Governor of California because he's Arnold Schwarzenegger?
Do you reckon he won it just to get out of being in this?
Like, I don't know much about his policies. I can't imagine I agree with them. But
he's a Republican.
Yeah, of course. But like, boy, would it be tempting to vote for Arnold Schwarzenegger to be your governor.
Oh, absolutely.
In 2004.
I'm the local elections in Auckland are currently going on, and I didn't get my pack in the mail. I didn't know how to vote. But I looked it up today because one of the mayoral candidates, the good one, who's like one of the two front runners, liked a tweet of mine today, and so I was like, I'm going to find out how to vote for you. That's how easy it is to get my vote.
Wow. You heard it here first, everyone.
You heard it
if you
here
want
first,
to run
folks.
for mayor, you can probably get Richard's vote if you like anything he does.
So just a fun fact about this film, the grid alien xenomorph is the only on-screen character to kill more than one predator in any of the 6 theatrically released films featuring them.
Right, so this is an alien who gets attacked with one of the classic predator weapons, which is a net which sinks into the skin of your face, and it starts happening to the alien, but because they got acid blood. Also, I'm thinking about acid blood. That's got to be the, like, you know how, like, more people have died from vending machines than sharks?
Sure.
I reckon that it's like, in the world of Alien, it's like more people die from the acid blood of a xenomorph than any other, like, way it could kill you, I reckon.
Yeah.
It's its most dangerous asset, surely. Like, that stuff.
Well, I mean, the face
off.
hugging is probably the most deadly, because there's like there was a piece of trivia somewhere, I didn't write it down, but it was like, if you don't include them dying when the face hugger happens, and it's like, well, I do include that, so. But speaking of IMDb trivia, I do have a dumb piece of IMDb trivia for this film. It says, while the movie and its sequel have been officially omitted from the official timeline of Alien films, which subsequently also omits the Predator films from the timeline, it could still potentially fit in with the official timeline for a variety of reasons, most important being that the origins of either the Predator or Xenomorph species has never been explained within the context of AVP or Requiem.
Right, so they're just ignoring the fact that Prometheus takes place 200 years after
and
Alien
explains
vs.
the...
Predator.
Yeah. Pretty stupid. So, speaking of pretty stupid, Aliens versus Predator Requiem, and note, I pluralized the word aliens there, came out in 2007. This is directed by the brothers Strauss, if you're wondering who they are. They're Greg and Colin Strauss. They, after being inspired by Terminator 2, they moved to LA to try break into the film business.
Yes!
After an unsuccessful attempt to find employment at ILM, Industrial Light and Magic, they worked on the X-Files film and founded their own special effects company. Produced special effects for films like Volcano, The Day After Tomorrow, Poseidon, 300, and they began a career directing commercials and music videos. And Colin believes that Hydraulics, which is the company, has secured a strong relationship with 20th Century Fox, which owns the Alien and Predator franchises, and then they pitched an idea for Alien vs. Predator.
Wow.
And it was unsuccessful. And then eventually they were hired to direct the second one.
This sounds like they don't have a single good film in their repertoire.
Yeah, it was originally titled Alien vs. Predator Survival of the Fittest, but yeah, they...
It was not!
Yeah.
That's crazy! Holy shit.
They've only made one other film. It's called Skyline, came out in 2010.
Yes, I've seen Skyline years ago. Donald Faison's in it.
It was followed by 2 sequels, Beyond Skyline and Skylines, which came out in 2020, which we'll add to the franchise list.
So this film is a dramatic departure from the setting of Alien vs. Predator. This is set in like a little American town, and the Predalien turns up, and the predators turn up to kill it, and there's aliens there as well. It's a movie which has like a bunch of different characters that all look pretty similar. It's
a fucking Freddy or Jason film. It's like it's like a teen slasher. Like the characters are like teen slasher characters. There's like this one character who's like into this girl, and her boyfriend just keeps on like trying to kill him.
Yeah,
but it's like just typical bullying. But it's like no, he fucking almost murders this kid over and over again.
Yeah. I also thought, like, at least in the first, like, maybe act of the film, it looked like, I'm not surprised to learn these guys cut their teeth on music videos. It looked like I was watching, like, Even Stevens on Disney Channel. like the way, like, the color saturation and the, like, size of the lens, like, he, like, pulls up in a car when he's delivering pizza, and it looks almost fish-eyed, like a early Malcolm in the Middle kind of situation. And I haven't seen a movie that looks like this in so long. So after the first act or so, this movie gets so dark. And listener, I do not mean thematically or narratively. I mean visually. This is one of the darkest movies I've ever seen. I couldn't see this movie. I've experienced a problem since maybe like early 2020, maybe late 2019, where I'll go to the cinema, I'll watch a movie, and because there are no subtitles in the cinema, I can't hear what the characters are saying. It sounds like they're saying this. Like, that's what I didn't like about Tenet, is the audio mix. My ears couldn't understand
You're like on record, though, as having very dirty ears.
That's true.
Because there's that one time you cleaned your ears and then you just spoke at a normal volume.
I don't have dirty eyes, though, and this is the visual equivalent of that. This is a movie which has been made so...
I don't have dirty eyes. You're wearing glasses.
So are you. No dirtier than you, Richard.
Yeah, I didn't claim to have clean eyes.
I'm not your enemy here, Richard. The movie's your enemy, okay? All I was going to say is this movie is so needlessly darkened in post that, like, when the main villain is like they're a black, like they're an alien.
Why'd you take
I couldn't figure out how to... Like, xenomorphs are, like, pitch black, right? And then we go, okay, we'll set the movie in pitch darkness. Like, there are moments in this film where I was like, I bet this looks really cool. You know what I mean? Like, I bet this looks cool, but I can't see it. And I watched this in a dark room, and I couldn't see anything happening in it. There are fight scenes between the Predalien and the Predator. There's something which I understood to be like a bunch of pregnant women in a hospital get face hugged, and there's like a bunch of babies burst out of one of the pregnant ladies' stomachs. But like, this is all just me putting like
assuming
what
happened,
yeah, because I could see bits and pieces. I can't believe how hard this movie is to see. What
There's
did
actually,
you think?
yeah, I mean, yeah, it's offensively dark. So in one of the movie's behind the scenes featurettes, director of photography Daniel Pearl stated that he wanted to visually differentiate the film from its predecessor, which he criticized for its use of fixed cameras, wide shots, and excessively bright lighting. Because in his opinion, this revealed way too much of the creatures, reasoning that monster horror works better in dark environments with documentary-style photography. Pearl employed handheld cameras and dimly illuminated sets to get the desired effect. Ironically, the film would later be criticized for mostly for its overuse of shaky cam and excessively murky lighting, with people complaining that they couldn't see much of the action.
You can't see much of the action.
It's so funny.
Wow, that's
to
really
hear someone like like
describe their downfall.
Yeah, it's like Chris Nolan's, we got the gist of it.
Yeah. It is so like That's so funny because what you've got here, Richard, are two films. Star-crossed. What's the
Lovers.
opening of Romeo and Juliet?
Oh, what fuck! Like some households both alike in dignity.
That you've got two films both alike in dignity. They've both stooped to a level that neither franchise deserved at this point. And what you've got is two, it's just a case study. You've got two different approaches, two dramatically different approaches. One is an overlit, too stable action fantasy film that's like more akin to something maybe like The Mummy or Indiana Jones, set in a pyramid, and one is set in a little suburban town, and it is too dark to see anything and too shaky, which you kind of would switch the opposite for that. You would think the pyramid would be too dark and the town would be too bright.
Yeah.
And what you've got is evidence that on film, neither Alien or Predator should fight, because this is one example and here's the opposite, and they both suck.
Yeah. It is funny, just randomly placed useless statistic as well. This is our second crossover film, or I think it's actually the first one, but there's our second crossover between two franchises to contain the F slur.
No kidding.
Yeah, it's in Alien vs Predator.
I don't remember it in Alien vs Predator. I remember it in Freddy vs Jason.
It's in Freddy vs Jason. Maybe it's in Predators actually.
They say it in Predator, I think, or Predator 2. Yeah, they say it in Predator.
Yeah, and 2. One of them. Yeah, I forgot to mention it last week.
Right.
Yeah. There's a second crossover between two franchises where one of the films uses the F slur.
Very fun stuff.
The F is for fun fact. Yeah, that's how warped my perception of time is that I remember hearing that word in a film recently. And it was so much longer ago than when I watched AVP like a couple of nights ago. That's what happens when I remember tired lately. You tired?
Yeah, I was up all night editing this short film that I released that Carlisle made me disparage every other guest we've ever had on the show.
You didn't have to do that.
Well, the Alien didn't have to verse the Predator, and yet here we are.
Here we bloody are. Yeah, I mean, do you have anything else you really want to say about Requiem? The fact that it's so dark is like the biggest thing.
It's like I haven't seen it.
It is like I haven't seen it, yeah.
I've heard it. It actually feels like I haven't seen the film. The tagline for this film, what is it? So the first one's whoever wins, we lose, which I think I'm coming around. I think I'm going to say
the tagline for this film, I know the one you're talking about, the one that I've got in front of, like that's on the poster on Wikipedia is, "This Christmas, there will be no peace on earth."
No, that's not the one I'm thinking of.
Yeah, you're thinking of like the last place we want to be is in the middle.
It's like the last place on earth we want to be is in the middle. Yeah. I reckon that sucks. That's got too many nouns in it. And you lose track of the sentence halfway through. The last place on earth we want to be is in the middle. In the middle of the earth? That's what the first one was about.
Yeah. I'm trying to find the taglines on IMDb. Yeah, the last place we want to be on earth is in the middle. Last place on earth we want to be is in the middle.
I was going to say, if it was on Earth after B, it'd be like, what is the syntax? That is crazy.
In space, no one can hear you scream. On Earth, it won't matter.
That's better than on Earth, everyone can hear you scream, which is one of the proposed taglines for Alien 3.
It began on their world. It will end on ours.
We do see the Predator world in this film.
Yeah,
the first time.
And only time, because, it's not an
And it looks pretty
It looks pretty fun. Like, I'd like to go there, eh?
I think this film struggled again to make the Predator the villain, or like at least like if they want to be like the Predators come to like take care to like clean up, and because of that, anytime it kills a human character, it feels like they just kind of had to get that done. And he walks around with a big bottle of Drano and just dissolves the evidence of all his crimes. But then he also flays and strings up
Very
a guy
messy.
and a cop. And, it's so weird. Why did he do that? Why did the Predator do that?
Some other taglines for the first film. There's obviously the whoever wins, we lose. It's our planet. It's their war, which is very similar to the Transformers one, which is their war, our world. The enemy of my enemy. ... is my friend.
That's the opposite of whoever wins, we lose.
Yeah.
It should be the enemy of my enemy is still my enemy.
Yeah.
I guess that's the more accurate to the film. Well, we've talked about taglines, but I'd love to talk about titles.
I would love you to do your little thing.
So I think Alien vs Predator is cool. You don't need to call it AVP, Alien vs Predator. I don't think AVP doesn't mean anything. Okay, it's just 3 letters. Why? I reckon deceptively, Aliens vs Predator Requiem might be one of the worst titles of any film we've ever covered.
Wow.
Because not only is it Aliens vs Predator, a fact I learnt 4 weeks ago. I always thought it was Alien vs Predator Requiem. So already you've recalibrated it's a sequel. Because it says Requiem at the end, you've stated it's a sequel to Alien vs Predator. But it's you've changed the title, so it's not it should be called Alien vs Predator Requiem or Aliens vs Predators.
It's also referred to as Aliens versus Predator.
I think just do plural of both, because otherwise what it feels like, here's what it feels like, is someone in the titling department of this movie watched a cut and went, well, it's not Alien vs Predator, is it, technically? And they're like, what do you mean? There's more than, there's aliens. Should be Aliens vs Predator. It's like how when you're talking about the Dunkachino thing from Jack and Jill. It should be Al Pacino, whatever it is.
The Jack and Jill. Everyone complains about this bit from Jack and Jill, where at the end he has Al Pacino. I actually haven't seen the movie, but Al Pacino does this ad for Dunkin' Donuts, and he goes in, and they're like, "Hey, Al," and then he's like, "Actually, I've changed my name to Dunk," and they're like, "Dunkachino," and he goes, "That's my name, Dunkachino," or maybe he says his name is Dunker. Anyway, but the implication is that in the universe of Jack and Jill, Al Pacino's first name is Alpa.
Right. And I agree in theory, but in terms of catchiness, Dunkachino works, and it's same here, where it's
it should be Dunk Pacino.
But, yeah, well, there you go. But in this case, it is someone went, well, it's more than one alien and there's only one predator. But Alien vs Predator, the first one was more than one alien, and more than one predator.
I would have loved if this was called Aliens vs Predator 2. Because then you're using the second film from both franchises.
Right.
So it's James Cameron's Aliens versus Danny Glover in Predator 2.
Very nice. So yeah,
as if you were to say, what's the better sequel? Aliens versus Predator 2.
Yeah,
and then you could do the Alien Cubed versus the Predator and Alien Resurrection versus the Predator.
And then you do Alien
and Prometheus versus Prey.
Alien vs Predator versus Aliens vs Predator Requiem.
Yeah.
It just feels like it's a title that's been completely hamstrung by technicalities and trying to make grammatical sense. And also, Requiem, what are you talking about? What's the Requiem?
Yeah, no, is it a Requiem for a dream?
Certainly not. It's a Requiem for bloody not being able to fucking see a goddamn thing, Brothers Strauss. I can't tell what's happening in this film. What an abject failure of filmmaking. It's as I said before, I literally
the whole point of making a film is so people see it.
So people see it, audio visual. I actually feel like I can't say I've seen this film because I couldn't see. I'm
going to unlog it on Letterboxd.
Yeah, I've heard it. I've heard this film.
Yeah, the audio, not so much the visual. Anyway. Time for a little section we call Meeting of the Elders. This is where, for patrons of a certain level, they can head along to patreon.com, or just head along to the Discord, there's a secret channel that nobody knows about except those people. So if you're not one of those people, ignore where I said you can find it. And yeah, you will read out your thoughts and have a little discussion. I think I one thing that I would suggest to cult elders is like bring up more discussion topics, ask questions in these.
Yeah.
And because I do feel bad when we just go, yep, okay,
sure, sure do agree.
Yeah. So, Cheeseburster has said AVP 1 starts off okay and interesting, but the temple is a super boring setting, and once the lead teams up with the Predator and gets an alien head on her arm, I can't guess past how stupid that is.
It is
and
so
it is.
stupid.
Like, they're running back out of the pyramid, she's got this alien head on, and...
Not on her head, she's holding it on her arm.
Yeah, holding it on her arm, yeah. I've said before, like, I think my pitch for Terminator, my continue the franchise was like, stop trying to make them good. And this is what happens when you stop.
You're not eating your words, are you? You're like,
yeah,
no, stop. Try make them good again.
Yeah, like AVP Requiem is like, why is this a slasher film? Why is this just like a like a teen drama? AVP Requiem is at least set in a more interesting setting, the small town, with characters that are a little more interesting than generic scientist number 2, etc. Like, well, yeah, I'll give you that, but I
don't think it's a more interesting setting. I think a underground pyramid in Antarctica is more interesting than just a town.
Yeah, the main baddie is new and different, and I liked how he followed the Predator stalking it.
Do we? I couldn't see that.
The battles between the Predator and the aliens, the worst part is the lighting. It's way too dark most of the time. Yeah, agree. If it Brent's We Can Kill It has said, who would win in a fight to the death? Alien, Predator, Jason X, or Freddy? And before we actually had this discussion, a few people replied. Dan from LV426 said, does the Predator ever sleep? Does the alien ever sleep? Because I feel like Freddy is a bit handicapped in this battle. Cheeseburster said, pretty sure alien being asleep, but not sure if he could scare them in their dreams. And then chimed in.
I'll take this. I disagree. I think Freddy maybe can't defeat them, but he can't be killed, so he'll outlast them. So I think Freddy wins if it's just an endurance race. If theoretically the
Dan
aliens
said,
and
no matter
die,
what, here Jason is done. So
Jason's gone from the start.
I disagree with. I think because the fact that Brent has specified Jason X.
I did not see that. Okay.
Yeah, is like, so this is like Uber Jason we're talking about. And like Jason...
Well, that's basically just the Predator.
More so than the others, like, cannot be killed. Yeah. It's essentially the Predator, but with no sort of conscience or thinking, And Jason least follows not so much as Freddy really, but like least follows like the laws of physics or like reason. Like, Freddy's able to actually break them because he operates within the dream world. But, like, the Predator could be doing really well, and then Jason will just be behind him and stab him.
I feel like, that's a good point, but I think, because the reason that Freddy vs. Jason is an even matchup is because the circumstances of that film allow for Jason to be in a more powerful position. If it was just Jason from the second or third film, Friday the 13th versus Freddy, then Jason's gone immediately. Like, he's the only theoretically mortal human in the battle.
Not after number 6.
Sure. I guess, and Jason X was specified, but I still think the alien is going to wipe out. I think the last left alive will be Alien and Freddy. I don't think that even a face hugger would kill Jason. Right, because he's wearing the...
I think he would get his face hugged, and then he would, like, carve out eye holes into the face hugger, and that would be his mask for the rest of the film.
That's actually hilarious. I want to see that. Can that be my continue the franchise?
Well, it's mine.
I guess neither of us have one, do we?
I was sitting here for like 10 minutes waiting for you to finish your sub dog, and I could not. And I just could not think of one.
We just came up with one then.
Okay, well, that's Continue the Franchise and Cult Elders done. Although I do have some other Continue the Franchise. I do have some other Continue the Franchise stuff to go on. So there are, in the comics, there's a few other crossovers and stuff they've done. Witchblade / Alien / Darkness / Predator was released in 2000. Aliens versus Predator versus the Terminator was also released in 2000. Superman and Batman versus Aliens and Predator was released in 2007. And Predator versus Judge Dredd versus Aliens Splice and Dice was released from 2016 to 2017. Now, as for the films, it has its own little future segment. So the Strauss Bros were adamant that they wanted to develop a third film during their production of the second film. They wanted to make an AVP film set in space. It's set in the future, but 20th Century Fox said no. And in 2008, an anonymous source over at 20th Century Fox got in touch with us over the weekend to relay the news. Another AVP sequel is a certainty at this point. And it didn't happen. So they wanted to make an AVP 3 that would have led directly into Alien somehow. They blah 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 blah. Anyway, the most recent sort of thing is that Shane Black tweeted that he believes a third AVP film could still happen, indicating the studio has interest in both franchises. A comicbookrumors.com article from July suggested Fox may attempt an AVP cinematic universe after Ridley Scott finishes the Alien prequels, after which Fox considered a soft reboot to the Alien series.
Yeah, so I've got a silly idea and then a serious idea that I've already sort of
the co-writer for Predators also revealed the script for the cancelled sequel would feature the colonial marines from Aliens. Also, I didn't realize that, I talked about last week that the idea from the end of The Predator would be that Newt and Ripley would show up. They were going to have breathing apparatuses on them, which looked like the face huggers, and there's actually, you can see photos of the unused prop online.
Oh, interesting. My silly one, Prey VP, which doesn't make sense because it's not Prey vs. Predator. It's Alien vs. Predator, but as a sequel to Prey. What does that look like, And I'm talking sequel as in, like, bring back the characters. It's not like another period. It's Naru facing the aliens. Although I guess that wouldn't make sense because they haven't been invented yet in the current canon. But my serious answer is that like there are decades of comics here. Decades of, like, good ideas. So do one of them. Just do a new Alien. Just make a new movie called Alien vs. Predator. And then that's it. And it's adapt one, whatever the, like,
make it a Hulu original.
Yeah, sure. And adapt, like, the Watchmen of AVP stories, whatever that one is. Just do that, because that's the only way to guarantee success here, I think.
Yeah. I guess the closest thing I had to one was that I'd like to see a Saturday morning cartoon where the alien and predator are forced to work together to solve mysteries.
Great. AVP Detective Agency.
Yeah. AVPI.
You can't see, but my face just erupted into delight. I love that.
All right. So that's all we've got time for here at the Cult Popture Podcast. We do have a couple more things we have to do before we go, don't we, AJ?
Yeah, so first of all, what a time watching the Alien vs. Predator movies.
I'm sorry it ended like this.
One of the greatest, one of the biggest franchises we'd yet to cover. And as you said before, what a wet fart to end on. What a whimper. Not a boom, but a whimper, but we did watch them out of order. So if you enjoyed this podcast, please consider liking us at all the places, specifically Instagram and Twitter at Cult Popture. You can also join the Discord, where we will be chatting about Alien vs. Predator this week. We'd love to hear you guys' thoughts on our thoughts. And also, if you want to donate, you can do so over at patreon.com/cultpopture. We get to do all sorts of things, including giving us something to talk about in the post-credit scene, which is coming up after this music ends.
AJ, there's one thing we've forgotten to do, though, before the music stops. There's actually two things we've forgotten to do.
Okay.
We have to rank that franchise. So we're going to do that now. Ranked at franchise. This is a segment where over on letterboxd.com/cultpopture/list/FFF-ranking, you find a ranked list of 163 different franchises now, including Alien vs. Predator. And AJ, whereabouts do you think that Alien vs. Predator should go?
I reckon, well, first
Is
of
it
all...
better or worse than 300?
What's 300 rated at?
149.
300's a good place to put it. Right above Fred.
Yeah.
So we've got 300 Fred, and you want to put AVP in between those two.
Yeah.
I think AVP is the perfect marriage of the quality of 300 and the quality of Fred.
Okay, sweet.
So it's the 150th best franchise we've ever watched.
So now, before we get along to the post-credit scene, we've got something we haven't done in a long time.
It's franchise roulette time, baby. And because it's Spooktober, where we do spooky content for the whole month, which we've sort of annexed into September with the
Spooktember.
Spooktember. I beg your pardon. So we've got a list of like 40 to 50 spooky franchises, and usually if this is your first time flying with Cult Popture, when we do franchise roulette is when we randomly select the next franchise we'll cover, and usually it's from a much bigger list, but because it's Spooktober, we're zeroing in on spooky franchises.
On the worst parts of ourselves.
Much like horror.
A dark reflection of reality.
So what
let's
is the number?
Find the number. Oh, fuck, my Uber Eats has arrived. Right.
28.
Okay, here we go. 28. It's a classic. We listed it at 4, but I want to say it's actually 5 films.
Oh.
Yeah, it is 5 films.
Interesting. What's the vibe?
Think of the most classic horror you can think of.
Way to make me draw a blank. Is it Psycho?
It is Psycho.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So we're going to do Psycho next fortnight.
It's actually 6 films.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Needs to calm
Psycho,
down.
Psycho 2, Psycho 3, Bates Motel, Psycho 4, The Beginning, and the Psycho remake.
Nice. Well, I'm looking forward to the Psycho remake.
Yeah, I've never seen any of these movies, so...
Oh, no, I don't think I have either, actually.
I've never seen Psycho.
I've seen bits and pieces. I've seen one scene from Psycho. I don't know if you've heard of it. Cool. That'll be fun. That's pretty full on.
Yeah. Full on.
Pretty. We're getting back to the origins of horror this Spooktober.
The Horigins.
The Horigins with the Psycho series. So tune in for that, and of course, stay tuned for the post-credit scene, which will be coming at you after this music ends. And Richard, remember, whoever won, we lost, or something like whoever.
Sweet to watch those 2 movies.
Yeah. Welcome along to the post-credit scene. This is a section at the end of each episode where if you donate $5 or more over at patreon.com/cultpopture, you get to give us something to talk about in the post-credit scene. Richard, who's it from and what is it?
So this one comes to us from Michael Prefontaine, who says, who would be on the Cult Popture Mount Rushmore? Charlie Swan? Beethoven?
Yep. So yeah,
and then me and AJ.
Yeah, the question answered. On our way. I think Charlie Swan's a good call. I think maybe like the concept of Fright Night 2011 would be on there. Then you wouldn't just have Beethoven, you'd have all the dog movies, and then obviously you'd have the Queen Bee herself, Barbie. Would be the last.
Yeah, Barbie would be on there. I don't know necessarily about Fright Night 2011.
You don't reckon that was
I get where you're coming from.
Okay. Well, do you have a better replacement? Like Danny Trejo?
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's like... Yeah, I guess trying to think of like... although I guess there has to be one that doesn't really fit, who's only up there due to ego. Like Roosevelt.
What are you talking about? Oh, because he put himself on there, right?
Yeah.
I mean, okay. Well, that's probably Charlie Swan then.
No, Charlie Swan's the Abraham Lincoln.
Okay. You run this because I feel like we're operating on different analogy.
Oh, and
levels
Barbie, Charlie Swan are like two definites.
here.
Scooby Doo
Why?
and Elmo,
Okay, whatever.
Medea.
All right, everyone. Thank you for listening.
Yeah, what? You just go with the one I just said.